Well, I just finished an Egyptological conference here in D.C., and so I'm taking time to look at our nation's capital. And I'd like to make a few analogies between America's governmental structure and that of ancient Egypt. You know, one of the debates is America exceptional? Do we have a history that is exceptional? I think in many ways we do. We have provided like a perfect formula for individual citizens to have liberties, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion. At the same time, we have a powerful central government that's able to build bridges and make citizens' pathways helpful and useful. Well, in ancient Egypt, you might think it's the opposite. You might think that the pharaohs were all powerful and the people were peons and nothing. But one of the lines of evidence that came out in this conference is that there was tremendous decentralization. So contrary to America's strong central power exhibited by all these buildings, these administrative buildings and institutions around me, ancient Egypt has the appearance of that, but because the pharaoh's statues are everywhere and his hieroglyphics are everywhere, but in actuality, the king didn't have that much power in many instances. For instance, a presentation by a University of Chicago professor about the Theban necropolis, all the tombs under the various pharaohs that were placed on the cemetery there in Thebes. There's no evidence, he says, of pharaonic permission. The pharaoh didn't direct who could go where. He didn't say, you can have this grave or I'll grant it to you. Individual elites and even poor people built their tombs where they wanted to in Thebes. So this idea that the pharaoh is all powerful is really kind of an illusion that we have, except for the possible Khufu exception. And other evidence that came out in terms of, in America, we have freedom of speech, freedom of press, individual liberties, and we might think, well, the Egyptians were more slavish, they were in subjection to Pharaoh. In actuality, the craftsmanship of Egyptians is incredible. Any nation has the responsibility, the first and foremost responsibility, to protect its citizens and to give them freedom. That's the responsibility of a government. The Enlightened Fathers, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, they made that plain, that it's the duty of governments to protect the rights of citizens. It's also good if they can fix sewers, make roads, you know, have artist exhibits and all those other things, but the first and primary purpose of government is to protect the liberties of citizens, so that ultimately the society is built not by top-down power from a pharaoh or from a Trump, but from the individual citizens exercising their individual freedoms. So America, I think, has done a good job of that. We do have tremendous federal power, a very fair federal court system. Right. Well, in ancient Egypt, you probably just assume that, well, pharaohs had all the power, individual citizens were nothing. And while there's an outside truth to that, one of the takeaways I had from this conference was that there really was a decentralized situation in ancient Egypt, except for the Khufu exception. And even there, I think we could question whether it's totally top-down. Boat building wasn't done by 2x4s from Home Depot. It was done through the craftsmanship of workers that Doug English showed. They even used the twisted forms in the acacia wood. Instead of cutting it straight, they would work like a jigsaw puzzle. And Mark Later says the same thing. There's no two blocks alike. Everyone and all the pyramids were fitted to fit exactly they were supposed to. So respect of a king who didn't really have the power we think he did, but also individual craftsmen and others to have liberty to do their thing. So ancient Egypt is a special example, like America. We talk about, you know, is America exceptional? Well, is Egypt exceptional? I think they both are.